the ticket prices. The demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout.
What? They thought the money would never stop. They thought they could use her name, sell her jersey, pack arenas on her back, and give nothing in return. They were wrong. What you are witnessing is not a downturn. It's not a slump. It's a rebellion. The WNBA is in a freefall. And it's not because of an injury. It's because the fans, the very people the league took for granted, are now in control, and they are burning the whole thing down. This is the story they don't want you to know. The story of how a fan boycott, born from betrayal and a thirst for justice, is systematically crashing the WNBA. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you the evidence that proves this league is in a state of absolute panic. It all started with one announcement. On September 4th, the Indiana Fever confirmed what everyone had feared. Caitlin Clark's season was officially over, but the reaction wasn't sadness. It was rage, a calculated, organized rage that immediately targeted the league's wallet. The first casualty was the All-Star game in Indiana, what was supposed to be Clark's coronation. Within hours of the news, ticket prices didn't just drop, they imploded. Prices crashed a staggering 48%, plummeting from an average of $121 to just $64. The resale markets, once a gold mine, became a graveyard. They were flooded with fans not just selling, but dumping tickets they had bought months in advance, a clear message of disgust.
Caitlin Clark, out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White said earlier today. We couldn't be too sure until we see it for ourselves. And with this announcement from the GOAT's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark won't be returning this season, nor if the Indiana Fever make the Clark, a two-time All-Star and the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year, has been sidelined suffering a right groin injury during the Fever's 87-77 win over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. If you guys remember that game, Caitlin Clark put the team on her back in the winding minutes to give the Indiana Fever that lead. Clark also suffered a bone bruise at a later date during her recovery process.
But why this level of fury? This wasn't just about a star player getting hurt. This was about a massive season-long deception. Fans felt betrayed because they had been. For months, the Indiana Fever and the WNBA sold them hope on a lie. Sources suggest the team used the intentionally vague day-to-day injury designation for months, all while knowing Clark's return was highly unlikely. Head coach Stephanie White even admitted it. She confessed they had a feeling where this was going to go for the last month. Think about that. For a month, they knew. They knew her body was breaking down. They knew she was likely done. Yet they kept pushing her name to sell tickets for road games, moving matchups to massive NBA-sized arenas, because her name alone sold them out instantly. They milked every last dollar from the fans' loyalty while hiding the truth.
Started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what's going on. And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls.
And that's why fans are so pissed off. They were strung along, treated like ATMs, while the league played a cynical game of probable questionable nonsense. This wasn't bad luck. It was a deliberate choice to prioritize revenue over the health of their star and the trust of their fans. The boycott isn't just a reaction, it's a reckoning. With the arenas emptying, the rebellion turned its attention to the media, the league's other golden goose. The numbers are devastating. Television ratings have plummeted 55% since Clark's injury. Let me say that again, a 55% collapse. National broadcasts for the Fever are down 53%. This isn't a dip, it's a crater. Exposing the fragile reality, the WNBA tried to hide the entire growth of the league was built on the shoulders of one woman they refused to protect. And the media knows it. They're abandoning the WNBA just as fast as the fans are. Just listen to what Colin Cowherd admitted.
We've got Colin Cowherd saying, you know what? Guess what I didn't talk about on my show this year? The WNBA. Guess why? He just come out and said it yesterday. Because Caitlin Clark was not playing. That's why. He said, I led my show, my biggest, largest national sports radio show in the country. I led my show with Caitlin Clark 6 times last year. I mean, you don't lead a show with anybody unless they can draw.
He led his national show with Caitlin Clark 6 times last year, but this year, he hasn't discussed it. Why? Because Caitlin Clark was not playing. That's the brutal truth. The media doesn't care about the WNBA, they care about the Clark effect. And without her, the league is irrelevant to them. The fans, by refusing to watch, have turned off the league's life support. They've proven that the WNBA's billion-dollar media aspirations are a fantasy without the one player they allowed to be broken. And let's never forget what this is all for. This isn't just about bad business practices. It's about justice. Justice for a player who was targeted from day one. Fans watched in horror as she was subjected to a level of physicality that bordered on assault, while referees swallowed their whistles. She received 20% of all flagrant fouls in the entire league during her rookie season, with most coming from Angel Reese. These weren't just hard fouls or basketball plays.
Play against Breanna Stewart, she goes to the line 14 times. Asia Wilson goes to the line 13 times. And Aaliyah Boston can't play 20 minutes in a game without being on the bench in foul trouble. That's another problem that we're dealing with. But like I said, this year, it's not just Caitlin Clark. If you wear that Indiana Fever jersey, consider it done. The refs are not going to be fair, and they are going to cheat and do whatever it takes to do what the higher-ups say.
They were laughing about it, assaulting a player and laughing about it. In any other workplace, people would go to jail for what happened on that court. Yet the league did nothing. Sophie Cunningham of the Phoenix Mercury confirmed that opponents explicitly planned to target Clark, saying things like, "Let's show her what the WNBA's really about." The fans saw this. They saw the shoves, the cheap shots, the bodies flying into her off the ball. They saw the league's most valuable asset being treated like a punching bag, and they screamed for someone to do something. The league's response was silence. So now the fans are responding with a silence of their own. The silence of empty seats and dead air on TV. The fan rebellion has now reached the league's front door, and it's demanding a head on a pike, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. When the crisis reached a boiling point, fans and players looked to the commissioner for leadership, for accountability, for something that showed she understood the gravity of the situation. Instead, she gave them hollow corporate PR. She talked about league growth and constructive dialogue while completely ignoring the refereeing failures and lack of player protection that caused the disaster. Her statements were so out of touch, so sanitized, that they felt like a slap in the face to every fan who had invested their time and money. When asked directly about the officiating problems, what did she say? "No one's ever happy with officiating." That was her answer. A dismissive, condescending wave of the hand to the single biggest issue threatening her league. This wasn't just a bad answer, it was the final betrayal. It proved to the fans that she didn't care about Clark's safety. It proved that public relations mattered more to her than player health. Even her own players were disappointed. Breanna Stewart of the New York Liberty said publicly that players would have preferred Cathy to utilize her platform differently. The backlash was instantaneous and brutal. The boycott solidified from a protest into a movement with a singular goal.
For the last 2 weeks, Stephanie White knew where this was going to end up. I would say for the last month or so, they kind of had a feeling where this was going to go. The main issue, another day-to-day injury that turns into a season ender. Another day-to-day injury that turns into a season ender. And if you don't call that a lack of transparency, I don't know what to call that. I've easily said 2 months, 1 to 2 months. Be evaluated in the next 6 weeks. Instead, they played this day-to-day game time decision, probable, questionable nonsense for the last 8 weeks. And that is why fans are so pissed off for the most part. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I know if they were upfront and didn't BS us, people wouldn't be that angry at the organization, at least not as angry as they are now.
Itin pure dol proctor, can the tepen protis into a movement with a singular goal. Cathy resigned. That is the rallying cry of the fans. They see her as the symbol of a corrupt system that used a generational talent as a marketing tool, and then discarded her when she got hurt. The fans are no longer asking for change, they are demanding it. They are using their economic power to force a complete overhaul of a leadership structure they believe is rotten to the core. So where does this all lead? The boycott is in full effect. The league's finances are in shambles, its credibility is shot, and its leadership is under siege. The fans have proven they hold all the power, but the fight isn't over. The playoffs are approaching, and the central question remains unanswered. Will the league's owners listen? Will they fire a commissioner who has so thoroughly lost the trust of the fan base? Or will they double down, hoping this all blows over? Whispers are circulating that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has launched his own investigation into referee bias and potential misconduct within the WNBA. Is this the first sign of surrender, or is it just another PR trick to calm the storm? The fans have declared war. They've crashed the market and exposed the truth. But now the league has to make the next move, and whatever it is will determine if there's a league left to save it all.